I am going to call this meeting to order. I move that we open the meeting of the Marshfield Conservation Commission, July 20th, 21 meeting. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have the minutes from the 6:15 meeting. They have been circulated. Does anyone have any changes, corrections, additions, deletions? Okay. Then I move that we vote to approve the 6:15:21 minutes as written.
As edited, Madam Chair. As edited because you gave me a comment to edit?
Oh, as edited. Thank you.
Yes.
Second.
All-
Or second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Okay.
And we did not, unfortunately, I did not get to the 7-6 meeting, I so apologize.
Okay. I'm just going to read the latest update regarding the rules we are operating under. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, dated June 16th, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency regarding suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Paragraph 18, the Town of Marshfield's Board of Selectmen's meeting, and other selected board and committee meetings, this being one, will be conducted both in person and via remote participation. For this meeting, members of the public may attend in person or may participate remotely, a hybrid form of meeting, also utilizing the Zoom meeting instructions listed below. The public may also view the meeting by viewing the Town of Marshfield's government access channels, Verizon Channel 35, Comcast Channel 15. Every effort will be made to ensure that members and the public can adequately access the proceedings to the best of our technical abilities. And despite our best efforts, this meeting may be viewed as a video recording on Marshfield Community Television website, and a transcript or other comprehensive record of the meeting will be available as soon as possible after the meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless required by law. Okay. I have just one very brief chairman's comment. The Conservation Committee revised our 505 regulations, and we ratified them on March 18th, 2021. Since then, we were operating under a misapprehension regarding when these took effect. In fact, the amended 505s apply to all applications and requests filed after that date being March 18th, 2021. Okay. So, de minimis activity role.
Yes, I have those for you as you're ready, Madam Chair.
Okay, I'm ready.
First one is a shed that shall be replaced in the exact location as the prior shed. It is well within the 25-foot wetlands, buffer zones, the wetlands. However, it had already been there before, and there were blocks, it will be placed on blocks. When all things are considered, it seems to be a candidate for a de minimis. I provided aerials, I provided background on this, and several commissioners have already expressed that it's a de minimis.
Okay. I move that we vote to ratify this as a de minimis activity for shed replacement at 111 Canal Street. Do I have a second?
Second?
Rick, just to clarify, I think this 111
Edward
Edward
Road.
Street, not Mount Street.
Edward Road, forgive me. Yes, we have two 111s here. And
Finally, I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote it wrong.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in,
Or second, I mean, Rick is.
Okay.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Unanimous? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Minimus 2, Commissioner Lage is recusing and leaving the room.
Great. So with him recused, we received a request for 14 E Street to remove invasive plants and also replace native coastal plantings. As you know, it's a barrier beach coastal dune in this environment. It's also in a flood zone and it's in the setback to salt marsh. That being said, it needs some kind of permitting. However, this is something that's beneficial, and removal of invasive plants is oftentimes considered minor activity. The planting of plants can be also considered a minor activity, and since the de minimis is available, it seems like the right mechanism. I spoke to this resident and I suggested that he consult with a qualified wetland scientist, and he did do that. He spoke with John Zimmer of South River Environmental, and he was given advice about hand removal of the knapweed. He would also plant American beach grass, beach plum, or equivalent native coastal vegetation with the option to perform optional ongoing vegetative management. And I think with this one, I should go back on the last one also, there are special conditions. On this one, we have obtain all pertinent permits prior to starting the work, contact the Conservation Administrator for guidance on any future work activity within the coastal dune not included in this request. So those are the two conditions.
Okay, any comment or discussion from the commission?
This was an old enforcement order, Bill, from a
This was
previous owner?
complicated. This started out years ago with a enforcement order on a predecessor.
Okay.
The predecessor then had an after-the-fact NOI. The after-the-fact NOI dealt with first the retaining wall, and second the back 40 needed to be restored. Somehow the certificate of compliance was closed out, but then the new owner, which is Mr. Laggy, had lingering work to do in the back of his property when he permitted separately for separate activities.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Everybody clear?
Yes, thank you, Bill.
I move that we vote to ratify this as de minimis activity for vegetative management at 14 East Street with special conditions. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to get this other commission. All right, so, and then the last one, just for the public, all these come with special conditions that the applicants will receive. So the one in the shed includes 10 all pertinent permits before starting the work, ensure the footprint remains the same as the prior shed, ensure that the new shed is located no closer to the wetlands than the prior shed. So it's my fault for not reading those out, but those will be included in the permit.
Okay, Commissioner Lage is returning to the room, and Commissioner Carberry is recusing on the next item and leaving the room. Okay, 1190 Ferry Street.
So on this one, this resident had come in and applied for a RDA for the replacement of his driveway, which typically in the buffer zone is seen as a exemption and covered under the RDA. So he got the RDA, but when he proceeded to do the work, the building commissioner observed the work and paid him a visit and advised that he also needed to have additional permitting through the building department. So that ensued, and the building commissioner put a stop work order on the project. So currently, the resident is working with the building commissioner to resolve that, and the building commissioner had suggested that there were two things to be considered. One was a swale that was added, a small swale along the sides of the house, about 3 inches. The water builds up and ponds up in the area because it has high hydrostatic pressure in the subsurface. There is a berm in the middle of Ferry Street that drives water on either side. There is no drainage in the street, and in order to discharge, typically you discharge on a grass or pavement straight. So right now there are 2 downspouts that are discharging, and there had been previously a connector pipe that connected to the grass backyard, which is very robust and would serve as a great mitigation for dissipating stormwater flow, creating any kind of possibility of anybody thinking that it would be flood control, storm damage prevention, or sedimentation or erosion control issues. The lawn actually would help dissipate that. Additionally, I don't think that the small amount of swales, in my personal opinion, would greatly add to regular events of storms. However, in major events, when there's ponding, et cetera, some might argue that there would be a small amount of impact, because any kind of anything you put into the floodplain could create a displacement of water and it goes somewhere else. So there would be a small amount of impact under storm conditions, in my personal opinion. And I think that the other thing to mention is the neighbor at 1184 Core Ferry, who's adjacent, has a pretty open backyard, and he has an order of conditions that requires a 10-foot deep by 60-foot wide vegetative buffer. So that's there also to provide mitigation on his side. And then in addition to that, he recently came before us with a request for a de minimis activity for stairs and other non-conforming to the orders and conditions, and the commission allowed that to go forward, but had accepted his offer to put in additional planting. So the 10 feet may be slightly thicker. So on one side we have lawn where water will be discharged from the restored pipes and the 2 downspouts and a swale. And then on the other property, predecessor has got a vegetated area and a larger one coming. So I sort of feel like it's the net impact is there's nowhere to discharge it, and I think this is satisfactory. This is as much detail as we've ever given to anything like this. Previously, we had stormwater going into downspouts, but we had a particular individual who said, "Look, I can't get the water discharged. The hydrostatic pressure is so high that I'm building up 6 feet of water column in my gut and my downspout." So it just didn't make any sense. So one of the receiving commissioners, I think Frank Woodfall, said, "Let's get rid of that. That condition is no longer, workable. It's going to be a unique situation." So I think this is the best they can do. So when he's done with the building department doing all he's got to do there, I think he can restore the pipe. I think the swale is pretty minimal, and it's pretty much a de minimis in my eyes. But I leave it to the commission to decide.
Thank you, Bill. Any discussion, comments from?
No, I think they're doing the best they can with a difficult situation.
Absolutely. And did you note, Bill, that when we have an NOI filing, single-family home projects are exempt from stormwater regulation?
That is correct. I forgot to bring that out. And the other thing was there was a specific item that was brought to my attention by the building commissioner. 505-306.1, alteration of flow of surface water prohibited. No fill should be placed in any resource area buffer zone so as to alter the flow of the surface water in a way that the commission determines will adversely affect the wetland values of the resource areas. I had looked at all, under the 505, all the resource areas, primarily riverfront, land, septic, coast, storm flowage. We were also in the setback to the tidal beach, which is coastal beach, and then I also looked at this particular standard here. I look further for stormwater, and I agree with what you're saying, that even under an NOI, a single-family home is exempt under the NOI. So I'm still having a hard time seeing how this will make a cumulative impact. There are fills coming up that you'll deal with that are much larger, and they have to then be considered for this very same thing. And I want to make that emphasis there.
Okay. So no one has anything to add or ask. In that case, I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for drainage swale and potential stormwater impacts due to roof runoff into connected downspouts at 1190 Ferry Street with special conditions.
Right, and the special conditions are obtain all pertinent permits prior to commencing the work, provide the commission with photo documentation of the downspouts are discharging into the rear lawn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a 4-0. I'll go get the. Two more. We got that building.
Okay. Commissioner Carberry has returned to the room.
I did.
Okay, our next item is Joseph Drybeck Way, the harbor master, repurposing landscaping in Harbor Park in Riverfront, AE flood zone, and buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands.
This was pretty straightforward. It was permitted previously under SE 42-2522. The Harbor Park has been going through transformation under Mike DeMayo's Harbor Master administration. He's trying to beautify the area, make it more pleasant. There's a large swale in the middle. It's sort of kidney bean shaped, you might say, very long, and it's just problematic. He's got a lot of invasives coming in, a lot of weeds coming in. He doesn't have the desired plants. It's a lot of maintenance. So what he'd like to do is reduce down to the two edges to keep and maintain some degree of break in that. So he has the landscaping element that's appealing to the public for recreation purposes. And in addition, he then would seed the area that's being recovered, and then they would mow that. It would just be less maintenance, and it would probably be better for the public use in general. So I don't think you really have a tremendous amount of buffer zone, restoration here that would be benefited by trying to introduce native species in any way, shape, or form. So I didn't have an issue with this.
Any commissioners have comments?
Not here.
This is across from the parking lot, right?
Correct.
Right,
Okay,
where there's the big sign that says, Harbor Park.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think, and- yeah.
okay.
If no one has any comments or objections, I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for landscaping alterations at Harbor Park on Joseph Drybeck Way with special conditions.
Special conditions would be to obtain all pertinent permits prior to starting the work.
May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Commissioner Leggy, number 501, Madam Chair. Okay, good.
Okay, now we are on to Dyke Road, removal of stoppage block from manual controlled flood vent.
Right, so this one's an interesting one. So there are 4 flood vents in the dike. I'm learning more about it as I get involved with this other group that's been resurrected from the past. The town engineer and I have been talking about this. You had a permit in front of you, SE 42-2896 for the sluiceway support. They were using a product called Super Studs. They're basically braces that you could turn, and they elevated up the top. The top was sagging, and they didn't want to lose the road. They aren't ready to do a full replacement. That's going to happen when the full lifespan is utilized. There was, back in about 2008, there was a permit, which I don't have my hands on, I apologize for Concom, but the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers had NA, let's see if I can find it, NA 208-2461. I gave you one of the sheets here with some special conditions. So there shall be no work from April 1 to May 31 in order to minimize adverse effect to environmental fish. The tide gates are to be operated in accordance with the attached operation and maintenance plan dated March 17, 2009. And it's in that document where the Green Harbor River Advisory Committee is sort of established. And the personnel that are supposed to be involved range from Mass DEP to Mass CZM, Mass DER, the chair, the conservation administrator, the town engineer, NOAA, EPA, Mass Audubon, and drawing a blank on one other. But anyways, that's the gist of it. And their purpose is to service as a advisory technical group. They don't vote, they don't operate as a working group. I spoke to them specifically, and Mike Moresco specifically, if this group existed. I said, I don't want to operate like a working group. He told us in a meeting at RTC back in 2018 that is not to happen, so I will not allow it. And he said, well, you do have a second option. If they wanted to be a working group, they could come to the commission, Board of Selectmen, and they could ask for it for a 3-year period. They could establish that, and then it would be, basically terminated, or I don't know for sure. They could be possibly extended, but that's up to Mike and the Selectmen. I just heard about that the first time. I had 2 conversations with this advisory group, and they just want to be consensus driven and not based upon some kind of formal working group. And so we're we brought this topic up, and what they said was, two of the players said, well, it's okay, but I want to look at the original intent of the USACE permit, which I just read to you. And I said, fine, let's get back to us then. I'm going to bring this before the commission, and we'll have special conditions on this. If they will approve it, it would have special conditions such as follows, and they didn't have an issue with them, I can modify them slightly. Obtain all pertinent permits prior to starting the work, ensure compliance with the existing USACE permit, which I just read, and then consult the Green Harbor River Advisory Committee. That's what the purpose of the O&M plan was. So that's sort of it. The last thing was, I was told that this was a manual. The three that do not have the stop block in them are tidally driven, so they allow water to come in and go out as appropriate. And the one that's got the blockage is a manual, and it was purposely opened up because the old flaps or vents were leaking, allowing salt water to get into the other side of the dike, which was hoping to control Phragmites at that point in time. So by putting in the block, it appeared that it was allowing salt water to enter into the upper reaches of the Green Harbor River, and was allowing to have some beneficial impact against the Phragmites, which is not salt tolerant. And that's kind of it in the gist of it. So they are about to start work on the project, the sluiceway project that I read before, which is SE 42-2896. So the timing would be appropriate while they have the equipment to remove it if they're allowed to. So they're waiting on feedback from the advisory group and making sure that they're in conformance with the USACE permit. That's it.
Okay, so the advisory group met last week, correct?
Yeah, right.
And-
I think
okay.
on the 15th, and then previously to that, like in May, I just don't have the date on it.
Okay.
I didn't know they existed. The emails just started coming over the gunnels, and I was like, what's this? And so we quickly, Rod and I, put a group together. There's also a secondary ancillary aspect to this, and there's a group from Northeastern University that were approved by the town administrator and town engineer, well, mostly Michael, and to put in tide gates at along the South River and at the dike. So they may be coordinated in with this group, which would be excellent because it could provide additional data that allows operators of the dike to have real-time decision-making tools so they can decide when they should be making different changes that would be effective against storms.
Okay.
That's the goal of their project.
So the way, assuming we vote to ratify this as de minimis, the special conditions take into account
Yes.
any concerns that the advisory group has?
Yeah,
Okay.
so they, in order to do this, they have to get the advisory council to, talk to them. The next meeting's on the 19th, but they can do it by email also. And they have to be in conformance with the USACE. Right now, 2 members wanted to review the USACE permit, so until they get back to the town engineer, he's stuck.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'm just a little confused about this. So this advisory committee is active, Bill? We didn't know about it, but it is active?
What happened is when Jay was here, I think the O&M was 2009. The permits were, and I haven't seen the OOC yet. I've seen the USACE permit, and somehow between those two, it came into format. It was in the O&M plan. It was directly cited in the NAE 208 bear with me, you gotta get the number. It's a good question, I'll tell you that. 2461. So it went dormant because there wasn't a clean transfer between Jay Wennermer and I, and I don't know when they last met. They didn't keep minutes or anything. They were collecting data. They're trying to capture the data that's been collected. It's in different formats. They're trying to make the best of it.
Well, I think if the parties involved are willing to participate, it sounds like a good idea. I mean, I've always been a little hesitant about the amount of information we have on the dike and the decisions we make, so.
I think they're going to be better informed if we can get the people from New England, Northeastern University involved also. A couple of the players on the advisory committee really we're excited about them being on board, so that was positive. And, you know, they could get extra funding, they could change the scope of work, et cetera, so they're in a kind of a unique place. And the individual driving it, he's pretty well respected. Dr. Patterson.
Well, I suggest we move forward and be interested to see what they have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, anyone else?
Makes sense.
Then I,
can read it, it's
okay.
I would suggest the motion is vote to ratify a de minimis activity for the removal of the stoppage block in the dike vent with, in compliance with the existing US ACE permit and pre-consultation with the Green Harbor River Advisory Committee.
Nope, nope, thank you. So I move that we vote to ratify a de minimis activity for removal of the stoppage block in the dike vent in compliance with the NAE 20082461 permit and the guidance of the, what's the name of it?
Green Harbor River Advisory.
Green Harbor River Advisory Committee with special conditions. May I?
Second.
Susan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry that took so long.
No, that's,
That's done thoroughly, because that one had a lot of back and forth too, so.
okay. All right, we are on to B2, 98 Cherry Street. Conservation land use license discussion. Mr. Gibbs is here, Attorney Brodsky is here.
Did you just say something, Adam?
I think you're muted, Adam.
Adam, you're muted.
Could be us.
We're working on it.
It's us. It's always us, Adam.
Was it me? Do we need Jay?
Do you have the TV?
It's gonna be over here with.
Arrow over, I think.
Adam, say something. Okay, okay, so. The way I need me. Try it now, Adam. Still. Hang on, we'll figure this out.
One more try, Adam.
One of these devices is muted. Everybody.
I can hear him on my headphones here, but
Yeah, but our world is not, so. Maybe just hit full on his.
John and Jay just changed the audio the other day.
Hey, we have a couple people who would like to talk on Zoom, and we have volume control, so issues. We know we're okay on the CTV showing this confirmed, but we can't figure out which device is muted. The people, they're all sort of muted, I would say. Brodsky is not, okay, he's the attorney that wants to be on here. If you go down and look at him, he wants to speak, and he just moved down.
Bill's muted, too.
Is that hooked up to the TV? We don't know.
It's hooked up through this,
No, it's just the device.
Simply share thing.
We'll toggle.
They can hear you guys because it's taking this feed for the audio, but
Okay.
it seems like that might be feeding it to here. And this, I don't have an output to the room from here.
I don't think I can show you.
can play it on computer volume for now.
Can you play it from your computer?
Yeah.
Hang on, Adam.
So he's saying to pick a different audio device to catch that stream.
Adam, can you try again?
Thanks.
He's doing it, his internet though.
That means there's 2 devices.
Maybe more.
I'm on mute.
It's me.
It might be. Go talk to you.
Hey Jay. Hey, so the output's not coming out of the TV. Should we just mute ourselves in the room and then try to play it on the computer volume, or?
That's pretty cumbersome.
No, I switched it from wireless HDMI to speaker, and it's still not doing anything. It's on wireless HDMI right now. There's only 2. TV volume's up. Adam is offering to join in by telephone.
I cut that up. I just said maybe we would jump in and keep going. So, what if I volume up? Does that help?
The laptop has... No, we got... No, it's not. It's full volume on the laptop. Should we just have people call in and do this via speakerphone? Okay. Yeah, we have the TV volume up all over too.
I just unmuted. Adam, you want to try it now? I can hear you, but it's very muted. Okay, so
Okay. All right.
it's like it's coming into my place, but it's not coming into the TV.
Phone or whatever. Thanks.
I can't turn it off.
I think the best option is going to be to do a phone call and throw it on speaker.
Okay. Well,
No, just turn off, if you turn off your volume and then do it on the speaker, it should be okay.
all right, I got to turn it on now because I tried that trick. All right, why don't you call Adam Brodsky in there? Are you calling from my phone?
Yeah. Adam, can you mute yourself on the computer and then call in? We'll have you on speakerphone.
I'll call you. I'll call your cell. Sorry about that, Adam. You're not in the office, are you? Okay, doing that.
He is in the office.
Okay,
It's
so.
on the clock. I'm gonna get a bill.
Tell him to hold up his phone number.
Hey, Adam, how you doing?
Mr. Rafton, can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a lot of echo. I don't know what to do about that. It's trouble, huh? Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we all maybe watch our hands and people go and stuff? That's too much. I don't think I can do that.
Adam, I'll come pick you up. Where are you?
I mean, you know, but you want me to, next out of the Zoom meeting?
Yeah, maybe. If you try zooming back in, Adam, it might
If
correct
he could
it.
just cut his volume on his computer, try that.
I don't think it's gonna work.
It should. If you can hear us on speakerphone.
Mr. Rafton, is that any better?
Yeah, that's better. Okay, so sorry we can't see you. We know you're there. Okay, so
Could I, before we go any further, could I just ask if both Mr. Gibbs and Mr. Brodsky are comfortable with this arrangement? And if they are not, is there any harm in postponing until the next meeting?
Chair Hannigan, this is Adam Brodsky. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, and as you know, I represent the kids regarding this matter. I had actually communicated a settlement offer to town council regarding the matter, and was expecting a response. So I thought that we were going to continue those discussions before anything was made public. So I would welcome the opportunity to continue those conversations and come back in a few weeks and report in. I think that's the best solution.
I think, I agree. Is everyone, yeah. Yeah, I think it would make sense to do this in the future when we do not have the technical obstacle in front of us.
Can I just throw a couple things out before we kind of separate? And then I won't disagree with that, but Mr. Gibbs has advised me he's been making some headway with some of the work that's going on. I'd like to go out and kind of get an evaluation of that so I can give some kind of report to the commission. Does anybody object to that?
No, Mr. Grafton, I believe that we've done everything that we were required to do with respect to 77 Cherry Street. And we also had done what we had agreed to do with respect to the vacant lot next to it. The real issues concern the resolution of the wetlands issues, but the property issues, 98 Cherry Street, and that's the more delicate issue.
So what I'm saying is this, is the interim step would be that I'd probably get together with Mr. Gibbs or a commissioner, me and Mr. Gibbs, and just go and review what's been accomplished so I can have eyes on it, okay? So
Yes, of course.
that's not an issue, right?
No, not at all.
Okay. So I will contact Mr. Gibbs and make those arrangements. We'll have a nice walk and we'll see where we stand and we'll continue this to the 3rd of August.
I can't be there on the 3rd. I'm actually taking a week's vacation, so can you put us on the following meeting? please?
That'll be the 17th then?
Yes, I think we have the Lawson matters also on for that evening, so.
Convenient for you, good. Okay, we'll do that then. I guess I just want to get that out there so we don't lose time.
So his point is to separate the two matters? The
No, they're making progress on the 3 things. And the one thing that the land use is going to be discussed more. And then on the 17th, the commission will have better information and the commission and Adam will be able to discuss what the commission believes is acceptable. We can use determination.
Right, because we're going to need,
But that's all regarding 98 Cherry, not...
They're both interconnected on the enforcement order, which is underway and not complete. And 98 has got also some separate items that have been introduced, and that'll get taken care of on the 17th. But Attorney Brodsky and the chair think that additional time might be fruitful for the negotiations. So by the 17th, the commission will have the information it needs to make its determination.
And if I might, Mr. Graffin, I don't see the need for the issuance of an enforcement order here. Gives them and very responsive to the commission's concerns. As I said, we have a proposal to resolve all these issues. So I think the issuance of an enforcement order is just going to complicate the matter.
Okay. Well, just to help you out a little bit, I'm not eager to write another enforcement order. I got enough to write. So if I can get out in the field with Mr. Gibbs and the commissioner and we can evaluate it, I can provide some degree of comfort to the commission and they can direct me. They've already directed me to write it, but it's underway. It's pending.
Mr. Grafton, can I just point out that if we're simply going to postpone this till the 17th, we're freezing everything where it is right
Okay, so
now.
I've been told to stay the enforcement order until
We'll just, yeah.
delay it. Yep. Understood. Okay. Okay then. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. I'll
Thank
let
you. I'm sorry that, but it's probably better for the better.
It is.
Okay.
Bye, Adam. I'm going to hang up now.
Thank you. Good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening.
Bye, Adam.
Good night, Adam.
Okay, good guy. All right, thanks.
Okay. So hopefully we don't have too many other people that want to come in remotely, but we do have guidance on that, so,
Okay.
all right.
Oh, this one's an easy one. We can do this internally.
Conservation permit discussion. So Arthur, Joe, Susan?
No, Liz.
No, Liz,
Liz.
Eric,
And the other guy.
Arthur, and me, and Bill. We all got together to just review the request for certificate of compliance submittal checklist and the conservation permit submittal checklist. And we made, it was sort of a housekeeping. We cleaned up some of the language to be more specific. We are now requiring the plans to be stamped by a registered professional engineer and a registered professional land surveyor. We are requesting 8 paper copies and 1 digital, as opposed to the 9 paper copies that we used to ask for. We shifted some of the language on the certificate of compliance, COC submittal checklist is now request for certificate of compliance submittal checklist. So if you look at the new sheet you have versus what we have been working off of, in essence, it is similar, but we have tightened things up. And also on the conservation permit, just some minor changes, putting some things in bold so that it's more obvious to people. Would you like to say anything, Art?
No, I think Bill, do you want to add? I mean, we did a few things with fees, and I think it's a cleaner.
Yeah, we
Clear.
haven't changed any fees yet, but we discussed specifically these subdivisions that come in 3, 4, 5 or more years later, maybe upping what they are paying to get their COCs, because it's taking up significant staff time to go back and work on these.
Right.
So we are going to continue to discuss that, but
Couple of things, because Art asked me to chime in. We're going to standardize on the certificate, on the conservation permit checklist. We require NAVD 88 on everything. There's no more NGV 1929 using MLS or any of that. So they will be rejected, okay? That they will be rejected unless they're NAVD 88, which is what FEMA uses, okay? The language on the requirement on this conservation permit, it does have RPE, RPLS, but it also allows the commission to exempt by introducing the language unless exempted by the commission. So we have a number of permits that are required to be NOIs. We have a house on Water Street that has herbicide on Bittersweet in Berry Beach Coastal Dune, and we've been told that's an NOI, but why does that need a surveyed plan? So the commission can waive that. The unless exempted also applies to any of the standards that you wanted to waive. We have the impervious table now added in. I'm sure you don't want to exempt that. The NAVD 88 is added in, so I'm sure you don't want to exempt that, but there may be something else. So basically the language allows you to either fully exempt the requirement for the surveyed plan or portions of it. So that was one thing we also worked in to try to provide some relief. And under these times of scrutiny that we're seeing internally in the town and also with Mass DEP, we want to be compliant. We want to be a leader as in the conservation. And so we are seeking to respond to various inputs. We also are requiring contour elevations. No more spot elevations. They will not be accepted. So those were important changes. A lot of this was clerical, and we reduced it from 9 to 8, as the chair had said. And as far as the fees go, not just the subdivisions, but it occurred to me also to consider adding a 50% riverfront, like the state does, to the town bylaw fee. So that's another consideration, which would be running in parallel with the state. If the state gets it, you know, it would be eligible, it would be significantly obvious that it would potentially be something that the town might want to also consider. Only the commission, town administrator, board of selectmen, et cetera, really have got the final say on that, so that's that. And I don't think anything else. Eric, do you see anything there that I've missed?
No, I think you highlighted most of it. Maybe just to clarify that the fee stuff had been discussed, that we would discuss it further. It wasn't part of this particular application, right?
I think that's a separate animal, is what we're trying to say. I do know that somebody was very confused about the de minimis we had with regards to adding sand to the beach, and there are many emails, and I don't want any more confusion. So to reduce the ambiguity to dust, the fees are not being touched at this point in time. Okay?
Okay. So if everyone has had a chance to look at the changes that were made, does anyone who was not in that meeting have any comments or suggestions or?
Just me, I guess. I think it looks great. Looks better, cleaner, shorter.
Yeah, I think the updated checklist is a good thing. If we do move on to any discussion about fees, the last time we had a spreadsheet of neighboring towns for comparison. I'd want to do the same thing again.
Okay, nobody has subdivisions, so I can tell you that's a futile effort there. I apologize for saying it that way. Nobody has subdivisions, that'd be brand new. And nobody has 50% riverfront either, so those are the only things we're talking about. I can look and scour the earth, but I don't think we're gonna get that, Bert, so I prefer to be relieved of that duty, because it's not the same as it was last time. We're not looking at the standard permits, the administrative review, the RDA, the COC, the NOI, the extension, these are all new. I hope I can convince you
No one
of
around
that.
us has subdivisions?
Nobody. We have got about
Serious?
50, and most of them have got no COCs. That means every single house within every single subdivision has got a lien on it and been left behind for all these years. And the only way out for them is to get a partial. So we don't want to burden the partials. We want to burden the people that made the money on the subdivision and then left it behind with a lien on the property. That's what's going on. And we have about 6 active ones right now. We have a new one that's got a COC because they got the work out of the 100 over on Union Street. So this is a rare species, and my thought process was unique with regards to the riverfront for the town. So I don't mean to be not attending to your request, but I just wanted to let you know that if they do that, I could spend hours looking for it and find nothing.
Well, I guess that's an answer. Nobody else does it, but we want to.
I hope it satisfies you as far as all the
I think this will have to have some further discussion.
other.
Definitely.
Do we have a task force on this? Can Bert be on that?
Want to join the task force?
Not during the summer, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We can discuss further after the summer, or
Yeah,
I
well,
don't think
I
we
really
have to.
felt, I hate to prolong this, but when we did the 505s, I thought we were gonna live with things for about 6 months, or hopefully until the state came out with their revised coastal,
I think you're right about that.
That's fair.
You are
But
right.
They're absolutely right about that. This, though, lives in the policy, so we can touch it. And you can touch it whenever you want with a meeting like this. However, Bert's right, the regulations, I feel exactly the same. I want them to sit, and we'll sift it through, and then the changes, I'd be good with a year, at minimum.
Yeah, I mean, that
before
was
touching it.
your intent.
Yeah, let's
you know.
come back,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Give it
so,
time.
all right, so.
All right, so I'm going to move that we vote to approve the revisions suggested by the task force on July 9th and incorporate them into the policy and procedure guide. To be very clear, this does not include any changes in any fee structure.
Yes, I agree.
All right. Could I have a second?
Second.
Susan?
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, all right. So, the next two, I kinda, separated them, but then when you put them together, it's the Conservation Policy and Procedure Guide adjustments to reflect B3, which was just voted on. So, we did get in that motion, but I thought a separate motion because people get confused, you know, so I wanna
Okay.
make sure they're unconfused.
All right, then I move that we vote to incorporate the revisions just voted on to the conservation permit submittal checklist and request for certificate of compliance suggested by the task force on July 9th into the policy and procedure guide and approve it in its entirety with the revisions. Again, no fees are changing. May I have a second?
Second.
Hardwick,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
okay, unanimous, we'll take care of that. Get that
Okay.
worked out.
And our last business item is the Council on Aging request to locate sitting benches in Webster's Wilderness.
And I sent over a package that was prepared by Carol Hamilton, the Director of the Council on Aging. They just received the benches. I had spoken to the town planner and to Carol Hamilton. Carol put together instantaneously a letter requesting, which I sent to the commission. There was a location on a current trail map that Greg Guillemon had perused. Ned Bangs and Greg, who are part of the RTC, had located the benches. I didn't need to go out for this. They have a little more storied knowledge of the town and what would be appropriate. These are benches again. I don't think we have any wetland issues there. If we do, they're probably de minimis. And I think this is pretty straightforward, just getting permission under the land conservation use regulations.
Yeah, there are already some benches out there, based on the plan that she gave us. There were 2, and they're putting 2 more, which I believe they got through grant funding, so, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Does anybody?
fine.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I move that we vote to approve the addition of 2 benches on the Webster's Wilderness.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Susan, okay, so there was one I didn't hear a motion on, Chair Hanafin. I think it was, we didn't take a motion on the continuation for the 98 Cherry Street.
Ah,
What we
okay.
did was Attorney Brodsky agreed with you and the commission agreed with you and
Okay.
just kind of tabled it. So you didn't make a motion to
So-
table the 8/17 meeting.
Yes, I move that we vote to table the discussion of 98 and 77 Cherry Street to the August 17th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I also failed to take attendance when we began.
I took that for you.
You did take it, okay.
It said on that one, too.
Okay. All right, we are on to the public hearings. The first being, I will read the legal notice. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, July 20th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. to consider the request for determination of applicability of Bernadette Freiberger of Green Harbor. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
Eric, can you confirm that fees, taxes are today?
Yes, taxes were confirmed on July 7th and fees were paid on July 2nd.
Great, thank you so much. So this is an RDA. The applicant is proposing the planting of native salt-tolerant plants such as high tide bush bayberry or native coastal herbaceous seed mix, the addition of some topsoil and planting of grass in an existing lawn area in order to stabilize the area. In addition to that, they're agreeing to put in 2 conservation marker posts at the end of the road right before the salt marsh. The resource areas are Barrier Beach, Coastal Dune Riverfront, and a flood zone, AE elevation 9, and also buffer zone to salt marsh. And so, actually, I see the applicant is here, Mr. Freiberg, Bernadette's son-in-law, yes. Could you give us your name?
Give us your name, Bob, right?
Yes, Robert Blyron, I was here.
Spell your last name, please.
BLEIDORN.
Gotcha. And your what address?
It is 27 Brighton Street.
Gotcha.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, it's 33 Brighton Street.
That's fair enough. Good enough, you're really close. It's like hand grenades and what's the other one?
Yeah.
Horseshoes, right?
So,
Yeah, so I can maybe just give a quick summary of this, and if Bill has additional stuff he wants to chip on, he can, if the commission wants. So basically, there was a response to a complaint back in May of some fill at the end of the street. This was loam piled up at the end there, at the end of Brighton Street. Bill went there to check it out, also noticed a bit of berming going on the side of 33 Brighton Street. He spoke with the homeowners, and then basically talk to them about some other options they could use to prevent overflow from the marsh. And one of those included native plantings along the side of that berm next to the house in order to stabilize the dirt there. And also, to put in those conservation markers at the end of the road, as long as they had, shared permission and, documentation of that from the neighboring house, which is 27, I believe, right? Or is that 28? Thanks.
You guys are a pair tonight.
So basically, the idea here is that the conservation markers at the end of the road will deter people from dumping stuff into the salt marsh, which is right next to the property there. The native plantings along the side will provide stability to the side of the yard, the ground there, and provide a bit more of a buffer to the salt marsh itself. And then they also would like to do a little bit of topsoil on the yard, which is an existing yard, and reseeding of the yard as part of this. One thing we were waiting on was signed permission from the neighbor. Has that been something that's been acquired?
No, I talked to her husband or a significant other, and their game, I just yet to meet with her.
So you have an agreement, you don't have it in writing, correct?
Yeah.
We just would like it in writing, because there was a little bit of an issue when Mrs. Foster was trying to do something similar between, 3 or 4 properties. So we got a cooperative environment that's different. Please just get something in writing and provide it to us.
I understand, yeah, for sure.
Any,
And,
I'm sorry,
pardon
go
me,
ahead.
is that something I write out a letter,
Just
agreement,
an
there's
email.
supposed to be some,
Yeah, an email would be nice.
and with as long as
Handwritten
she
note would be
signs?
nice, just to Eric or me.
Yeah,
Right.
fair enough. I didn't know if there was a standard form or something.
No, you're pretty casual about that.
Okay.
Do we have any comments from the commission? Anybody in the public other than you here to discuss this?
No,
No? Okay.
So,
We just have to ask that.
so this is voluntary, so there's no specific numbers or anything like that, it's just whatever.
Yeah. So what's going on is there's been some activity, I don't know if it's them or whoever. If you want me to forensically get into it, we can assign it to them, it's Phil, it's forever. They have some Phragmites growing in the back 40, which I talked to Bob about, try to control it. If he goes with herbicide, he needs an NLI. There's no need for any surveyed plan, but you can cut it and you can put tarp on it, it'll kill it, it's bad stuff, as you know. He's been handling it along this other berm, and they've been transplanting a variety of plants. They've got some nice high tide bush in there, and I suggested to him we put more in, and we can help him figure out where to get them. Eastern red cedars do pretty well over there, other plants that we talked about. So the option would be, don't add to the fill, add the plants and take advantage of it and the roots and all the functional values that they bring to the table. So that's optional. And if they put one in, it doesn't work, that's the end of that. The other thing is we're having dumping by neighbors down at the end of the road, so these conservation markers, which they're willing to do, and the neighbor's willing to do, and we'll give them the markers, would really help. And then that way the dumping will stop and that bank of the Chesapeake River won't get, inundated with sediment any longer.
One of the things I understood that you were going to actually give a planting list with
I can do
specific
that.
things so that we make sure that so that they're sustainable, that they actually
I actually
do
have one,
stabilize.
whether it was
Yeah,
Eric or
I think
Bill.
between Eric and
Yeah,
I might have done it.
consultation. You will have to be any way to get the conservation posts and the markers correct, and the correct placement of those once we get the letter from the neighbor.
We can do that, Commissioner Karen, we can definitely do that and make this right.
Does that
Sounds good.
satisfy you?
Yep.
All right, well, with no further comment, then I will make a motion to issue a positive determined number 5 for the bylaw and a negative number 2 with special conditions that, would you like to read
Yeah,
those?
so then special conditions would be under the cover letter here. We would do ensure best management practices are followed before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits. We want provide written permission for conservation marker and posts from the owner of 28 Brighton Street within 7 days to the Conservation Commission office.
Fair enough,
Works.
yeah.
And then place 2 red and white conservation do not disturb markers on 4x4 pressure treated rot resistant posts, cedar or equivalent, at the end of the undeveloped portion of the road upgrading of the marsh. The posts and markers shall be replaced if removed or damaged. No activity including fill shall be permitted beyond these posts. This condition remains in perpetuity. And we'll strike the end of that. So that's it.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
500. Well done, thank you, Bob.
Thank
We'll
you.
be in touch. Come see us and get the conservation markers, so that's done.
I will, I
You
should.
see how to Bernie Bob for us, okay?
Yeah, I will. I tried to get her down here, but.
That's all right. She's got things to do. We got it. That's all right.
She thought I had the address squared away. Little did she know I was unprepared. You know?
That's okay, Bob. You did great. Thanks for coming down. You did a great job.
On a side note, a plant I was very, interested in using was a bayberry plant. I don't know
Oh,
how
yeah,
much
good
you
for
guys
you.
are familiar with.
Yeah.
Great.
But they seem to be real scarce and not quite on the endangered list, but it just seems to be a good one, I think, to use unless otherwise, noted by you guys.
If that would work.
No, I think that would work very well
Yeah,
there.
I think that's a good call.
Yeah.
They're kind of short, we're just looking at.
Yeah, they actually look a
Something
little
big.
like inkberry and stuff like that too, and they've got a salt tolerance, so that's a good call.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea for that area.
Yeah, cool, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm always up for a
And those
recommendation.
roots will help you a lot, so that, they basically mitigate out, rushing water and things like this. So it's really a functional component as well. It's a good look.
Yeah, we're going for function. Looks, awesome as well, but
Okay.
hold that dirt.
Outstanding. Well, good to have that.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to make the motion on the continuation for Lawson? Or do we hold off?
Since there's nobody here, I was gonna
Okay.
just take it when we get to it. I was gonna mention it at the beginning, but I think we're okay. We'll take it in the order it's on here. We only have one more. Okay. Next up is another new hearing. 111 Canal Street, Marshfield, Mass. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 291, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Tuesday, July 20th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. to consider the after-the-fact request for determination of lot applicability filed by Tom Foley of Marshfield. And once again, the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
Eric, can we confirm taxes and fees on this property?
Yes, taxes were confirmed on July 7th and fees were paid on July 6th.
So this is, the resource areas for here are none. It is in a flood zone. It's not, I'm sorry, it's no, it's only in a buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland, no other resource areas, and no natural heritage endangered species are found on the site. This home is currently in the process of being sold. There's a closing planned this month. So because the homeowner came in with a title examination, they revealed it in an open order of conditions, which require a COC. The initial NOI was filed in 1983 solely for the purpose of the building of the single-family house and driveway, but on review of the aerial photos, it looks like there was some additional work done. So I will let Eric take over. We're gonna deal separately with we are gonna deal with just the certificate of compliance separately with the house, and then the other issues will be dealt. Our plan is to have an NOI to follow up on those.
Yeah, so
as not to hold up the closing of the house.
Right. So it's a somewhat complicated situation. I'll try to just make it simple. I think Susan did a great job explaining the general situation here. Basically, there was an order of conditions from 1983 for the initial building of the single-family home at 111 Canal Street. Since then, as you mentioned, there have been some structures put in place, and these are the ones listed on this RDA here. We're talking about a pool, addition, and a shed, which fall in varying locations along, within, and just outside of the 50-foot setback to the wetland as is currently shown. So when we had originally reviewed this on aerials, we had thought that an RDA would be the proper way to handle the permitting for the things that were out of conformance with the COC. But when we got to the site, we also realized that there's a fence and a bit of filling going on pretty close to the wetland and in the wetland. So Bill and I have discussed this extensively over the past couple of weeks, and we're trying to come up with the most straightforward and procedurally correct way to handle this. And our thought was to separate the COC, the RDA, and the remaining work that's not included in this RDA. So basically, the sale is in progress. I believe the new homeowners are probably already in there.
They are,
We
yes.
talked to them, yeah. So I think
you know, we've received cooperation from both Mr. Foley and the new homeowners, so I don't think that there's a reason that we need to hold up the COC, which is later on the agenda tonight, because of these unpermitted structures. They've already come forward immediately to follow the after-the-fact RDA for these 3 structures listed here, and I think these are permittable under an RDA. I think the fence and the fill in the back is not, and for that we would need a separate after-the-fact NOI. And in that filing, we could, you know, condition the placement of conservation markers, protecting the land that remains in the wetland behind the property, allowing that to revegetate. Those conditions can be discussed later. But in short, I think that the commission can issue a negative determination for these 3 structures, conditioning that a NOI be filed for the remaining work that's not included in this RDA. So everything, I mean, the pool, the addition, and the shed, I think these are permittable. If they were outside of the 50, there would be a clear exemption for them. They're slightly within the 50, some of them, so I think, you know, it definitely needs to be heard here. But I think they are permittable under an RDA as long as we get the NOI for the fence and the fill in the back and remedy that in a orders of conditions that can be closed out with, you know, ongoing conditions in a COC afterwards. So I think we look at these separately. I would recommend issuing a -3 on this one, as well as a positive 2A to confirm the wetland delineation. I would suggest standard conditions plus the placement of conservation markers. They have been outlined on the as-built as proposed. I think that Bill and I would need to discuss a couple of those locations and get a revised plan by Friday.
12th and Friday.
Can we just, I just want to give the commissioners
Yeah,
also
sorry.
before, it's helpful because this is unusual to discuss where we're going with the determinations. One of the things I did want to add is if everybody agrees and votes as such that when I think the markers, the conservation markers should go up now and not wait for the NOI. And that, actually Eric and I had discussed that only because there are new people coming in and I know that they're happy, happy to cooperate with us, but just because the property is changing hands, I think we should have those markers up now.
Before the issuance, how about this, before the issuance of the COC, which they want, so they could do that the next day. Make it come down, see us tomorrow, put them in the ground after Dana gets it right, because Eric's gonna tell them where they go. They'll get on a plan, he can send us a digital, and they can get them in the field where they're supposed to go. I said 4 along the property line in the buffer zone with 117 Canal Street, and 5 along the rear where the wetland line is. We got 4 along the rear, and we got 3 over by the neighbor, and they were not what I would say to my liking, so I don't know if the commission would be happy with that either. So Eric and I can quickly provide a markup to Dan Altobello requiring the 12 noon Friday submittal, and maybe by Monday, the 26th, the conservation markers go up, and once we have evidence of that, the COC can be issued to the homeowners.
We're addressing the immediate concern of the
Well,
encroachment and then wait.
I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to show that there's a tactic here for getting the markers. Now, if they say they'll just do the markers, then you don't need all that. The markers will go up immediately. You don't need all that.
You're saying
The
you
markers go
don't
up
need the
where-
NOI? No, what?
So everything you said is, I would recommend. The as-built does not have the conservation markers in the area that I described over the phone. The RPE needs a little guidance on that. We need a new plan. In the field, they need to stake it and show the applicants where these markers go. There are 9 of them, not 7. And they need to be in the right location. So if the commission has faith in my ability to do this, I'll just take care of it with Eric. Is that okay?
Anybody else?
Bert, you have an issue with that?
Just to back up a little bit, asking I guess the former owners at this point.
So
I guess we're the current owners.
What year was the pool put in?
So the pool was put in '96, and so what happened is, we were putting the pool in, I knew that it was within the 50-foot buffer zone, went to building, and building, I believe they consulted Warren Harrington at the time, that was Bob Wiley, and said, well, this is no longer wetlands. And that was around the time that Ice House and Blue Herring were being permitted. And so they issued the building permit, which I have, that included the pool, and the fence, okay? Actually, building required the fence. And so that was in 96. So, I mean, we always respected that land, intended to take care of it. We actually, you know, Bill and Eric indicated that our neighbor, not the current owners, but the previous owners had pushed back a little bit. And so we approached them and asked them to stop because it opened up a view to Canal Street. And, you know, the nice thing about it is in the springtime, that fills in and it's a very private, quiet backyard. So we really tried to comply. We went to building. Apparently, we should have gone to conservation at the time.
So we did one like this recently
Both
over
together.
at Robert House, over at 32 Old Wharf. Exact same thing happened. They went to the building department and they asked about whether or not a fence needed a permit. They said no. Somebody probably didn't tell them about the conservation. That's not a rationale for not getting a conservation permit. So we've already gone down that road. I thought this was pretty much understood. There would be an NOI for that. There's also an additional thing. There's alteration within the 25. So even though this house was built in 1983, you can't go close to the 25 without having an NOI. That's a fact. You can't fill the wetlands without getting an NOI. Typically, that's a 2-for-1 fill restoration. So what I was thinking was that we would get a as-built restored or revised with the proper locations. They could put them, the locations in the field. I can give the conservation markers to Mr. Foley. He can put them up on the posts. That'll be all resolved. This RDA is done. We have the COC after we have evidence that the conservation markers are up. And then in 90 days, they file the NOI for the fill, the alteration from the 25, and also putting up the fence, which is a structure in downgrading of Warren Harrington's wetland line previously. So I thought that seemed to be something that the commission could digest.
Is everyone in agreement then with the, Bill, are you in agreement with?
I like that plan.
Go ahead.
Once again, Bill, you want to change the conservation markers. These markers seem to
Really?
give back quite a bit.
Do the other commissioners agree with Bert? I'd like to know.
I'm not sure where it is you want to change them to.
Well, they want to go straight on the property line in the buffer zone with 117 Canal, so we don't get any more of this. There need to be 4, not 3 over there. Count them up, you got 3. And they're downgrading of the property line. On the other side behind the house,
And one of them's 100 foot from the wetland line.
okay,
So,
I already looked at it. The buffer zone covers the majority of it.
I mean, I think they're given a lot.
So, Bill, are you in,
Okay.
I guess I'm not, are you in agreement with getting some additional markers in before the
Yes.
NOI?
I agree with that. The 4
Okay, that's what
markers
I'm-
along the
I'm-
property line in the buffer zone with 117 Canal. I mean, Rick, we've done this before. And then 5 along the property line in the back. He only gave us 4. And I did convey that by verbal to Dana. He's got a lot going on. He did not give everything that I thought. Otherwise, you wouldn't be looking at this plan. You'd be looking at the one I'm suggesting, which after filling in so much in the wetlands, and you have to wrestle with it under the NOI, whether or not you need a 2-for-1 restoration. And then this conservation markers will seem like small potatoes at that point. So anybody who wants any markers, we used to do that with Frank Woodfall a lot too.
And we're not disputing the line, you agree with the wetland line?
I agree with the wetland line. Eric spotted it dead on. I looked at a few flags. I think he and John Zimmer have it nailed.
Who files the new NOI? That would be the new owners?
The new owners, but the new owners are ultimately responsible.
They seem to have a clear understanding of this and a good relationship with you folks. They know each other, and we have a remedy if they don't. We know that there's bill and a fence that
Yeah.
need proper permitting.
And then
So,
when it comes down to the NOI, we can find out if we want a 2-for-1 fill at that point in time, or if these markers will be adequate. Anyways,
Where is the filling?
it's inside of Warren Harrington's line that I did send to the commission.
Where is it on the drawing?
It's not on that, that's a new drawing. There are 3 wetland lines. There's a state down gradient, there's this one that John Zimmer did, and there's one up gradient by Warren Harrington back in the 80s, okay? And so there's probably a fill back there. Now, technically, we should use the USACE technique to find out what the true wetland line is, or you could accept John Zimmer's line. I think the conservation markers give this commission adequate mitigation to resolve all of this. I'm not sure why we're still arguing about conservation markers. Can I just get your name for the record, because we have to have that?
Tom Foley?
Yeah, and then,
Diane Foley.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Art, what do you think about the markers?
I think I'm fine with it.
Bill, why don't you just show me on the drawing where you need additional markers?
Very good.
Down here, adjacent to 117, I
117.
guess. Right?
So this one, that one, that one, that one. Last time I did this was with Dana Jr. There you go.
And you're saying this wetland line is good?
This wetland line is good. The question is, that's based on plans. You have an alteration. When the NOI comes forward, which is a separate activity from these activities, which will allow the COC to move forward, the commission will then have to review whether or not they want the USACE method, and then if the fence goes and you have to do a 2-for-1 mitigation. That's a separate activity. And
This
then,
sort of moves us along, yeah.
He's only adding one, right? He's so far away.
You know, this is more than 100 foot from the wetland.
Yeah, I know.
Well, my concern was more just the ones on the fence line for now.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because as new owners, they might go in and want to be doing things behind the fence. That was actually the point that I should have been clearer about. I was just concerned about the ones on the fence for now, until, that was my feeling.
So you can look at it two ways. I'm sort of hearing some of the logic of the commission. I hear 100 foot, but the thing is that that's getting protection, and that's a compensation of the buffer zone in lieu of the wetlands that are getting filled behind the fence. So I think that what I've offered you there is a great solution to this, but I'm not going to speak on it.
Where's the fill, over here? On the other side of the wetland?
Have you been to the site, Rick?
What's that?
Were you to the site yet?
No.
Did you see the gravel that's buried in there?
No.
Did you see the soft brush coming through around it? Right.
No, I was just
So
asking where
I think you
the,
can take our word for it. There's definitely fill.
where the fill was, that's all.
Well, this is a case, it'd be nice to have the information beforehand, you know, then we could go visit the site.
Uh-huh.
You know,
I thought this
is
was
not-
pretty thorough, Bert. I wrote it up pretty
It's not
thoroughly.
apparent in any of the notes to me.
So you're suggesting that if the conservation markers are placed where you are
Yeah.
suggesting, that would effectively be mitigation for,
I would suggest strongly that that's the
Fill.
mitigation, that then will allow you to balance out the need for any 2-for-1 later on.
later on?
I've seen what's happened.
Okay, that will cover the mitigation, Bill. That's what you're saying.
I'm providing you an avenue, yes. I can't decide for you.
Okay.
And apparently the new owners are sort of on board with this.
They seem to understand, I mean, you've had,
Yeah.
I only spoke with them
I think
briefly.
Eric's had more
Eric-
experience with them, and Mr. Foley's been in.
Yeah, we spoke to both parties, the current homeowners and the future homeowners. The future homeowners who were there said that they're happy to work with conservation. He said conservation is an important thing to him. So I think, we shouldn't necessarily expect any nefarious activity going on from the new homeowners. I think the plan we have to put the markers in place and call that a day for mitigation and allow that area back there to rejuvenate naturally seems like a pretty, reasonable thing to do. And I think it would be a good way to just get this wrapped up. I don't have a strong opinion on the location of the markers, but I think what Bill's proposing is reasonable.
I would be forced to say something completely different under the NOI if this wasn't there.
Well, speaking only for myself, it seems to me that putting these markers in is much less onerous than requiring the new owners to get involved with 2-for-1 mitigation.
That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Thank you, Chair.
I agree with
I
that.
think
I
it
agree
makes
with the
sense
chair.
when you discuss it that way.
So, maybe an unusual placement of markers, but if that's the end game, I think that makes some sense.
Good point. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, Rick's fine with that
And
too.
it'll all be solid with the NOI, we'll have it
Right, and
recorded,
then it'll all
order
be there.
conditions, and they'll be clear.
That's
And
good.
they seem happy to-
Okay,
Let's get this house sold.
Great.
yes.
They don't
They'd
want,
like to move
they
in.
don't want to lose their mortgage rate.
One last swim.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Exactly.
do a second baby in like 2 weeks.
Oh.
A lot of
Pretty
moving
ages.
pieces.
Yeah, so,
And they're from Green Harbor, and they're a great young couple. They're not gonna, they want that privacy.
they want. All right, so
Okay.
with that, I will make a motion. You ready? Okay, so I will make a motion to
Backers of the end of-
issue a positive determination a positive determination number 1, and a number 2A for the confirmation of the wetland boundary, and number 5 for the bylaw, and a negative 3 with special conditions for the pool, shed, and addition only, and require the filing of an after-the-fact NOI for, we had said up within 90 days.
Right.
And the markers will be done.
Yeah, like, how about within a week?
That'll be fine, and I'd like to get some guidance from you or Eric, Bill. on,
Either way, you can't lose there.
How?
We're
You
on
know,
the
the
same
4x4s that.
page. Yeah, we'll give you
okay.
everything you need
All
for
right.
information, and it's a no-brainer. We'll get with Dana for you to help you, and get that resolved. He can get that by 12 noon. He's done it many, many times.
Okay, we'll get those in.
Okay, outstanding. Well, thanks for cooperating, and
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your consideration, and thanks, Bill and Eric, for all the help you've given us walking through this.
And so the special conditions will be just, I don't know if you need, they're very brief, and other than the markers are still.
Yeah, I think we would
eligible.
stick with the standard conditions, require the placement of the markers within 7 days, and require the filing of an NOI for the remaining after-the-fact work within 90 days.
All right, may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
who's that, Rick or Bert? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Bob,
thank you,
you're still
folks.
here, you're learning. You're trying to get on the commission? That's good. Bob's gonna join the commission.
We have an opening.
All right.
We
Good night.
appreciate all your
Catch up.
Good luck with everything.
Manana,
Circle
okay,
back, yes.
manana tomorrow, yes. All right.
Okay, we have one continued hearing. Do we have to vote to?
I would do that, because,
Yeah.
procedural, you just never know.
Right, okay. We have a continued hearing, Lawson, 62 Marginal Street, continued from 7/6 to a date certain of August 17th. I move that we ratify that. Do I have a second?
Second?
Susan?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, we are on to requests for certificate of compliance. Lynch at 25 Billings Road, I believe we are still waiting for a deed restriction here.
Yeah, Eric was in touch with them last, and that's all he needs is a deed restriction. This is going on for months. I don't understand it. It could have been written so long ago. So
Okay.
I hope they'll get it done, because we just want to give them a COC, you know?
Yeah, exactly, get it finished, okay. Then we are back to,
Do you want to vote on it, or do you want to go through one by one?
oh, I'm sorry, yeah, let's vote on them. So I move that we vote to table Lynch at 25 Billings Road until the August 3rd public meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Art?
All in favor?
Aye.
500.
Okay, and now we are back to 111 Canal Street.
This is just a strange COC.
COC for the house in 1983. So do you want to have this pending the placement of the posts, or?
Yeah, I would say that, but I think they're gonna turn this around within a week. They've been both proactive, there's been no issues, whatever. This is the most bouncy part we've had tonight. And I'll call Dana if need be, or he'll call Dana and we'll get this resolved. Eric will call Dana and we'll get
Okay.
it resolved.
So then I move that we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 42-0161. Do I have a second?
Susan.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. DPW Ocean Street, Bryant's Lane and North Street. Request for certificate of compliance site visit on 7/15. Bill Grafton observed numerous sections repaired within the seawall under the orders of conditions and reviewed the as-built and special conditions. Administrator Grafton has no issues, so I move we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 42-2673. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good, 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 smooth.
Okay, 1180 Ferry Street. Request for,
Rick, you might want to recuse.
Yeah, I recuse on that one.
okay, Commissioner Carberry is recusing. It appears to be in good order with the exception of a generator, which has been moved out of the garage, outside the home on a platform that seems to be at AE 11. Administrator Grafton suggested that the homeowner reach out to the building commissioner for feedback on this unit, which may or may not need further elevation. Other than that, Commissioner Grafton, Administrator Grafton votes that.
Or demoted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know.
And I can talk about conservation workers with authority.
So I will move to vote that we issue a complete COC for SE 422758. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job. You want to see a great planting plant, go over there. It incorporates ornamentals and native plants. He's done a fabulous job. And the house looks great too.
Okay, so now we are at,
Rick, you're back.
Commissioner Carberry returns to the hearing. So, we are at 0, now 1893 Main Street, where they have an extension
Right.
until June 15th, 2022, is it?
Yeah, they have,
This comes under the regulations
this is the
For-
tolling thing.
tolling, right?
This is the one loaded with the sequencing too. I have to still talk to Steve Clark. I've talked to Greg Morris about this, which is, it's being sold from Kelly to Clark. Let's see, who would remember this? Art will remember this, and Bert will remember this. Remember Kelly was gonna build his dream home, he's a guy from Nantucket, so we did the sequencing on it.
Absolutely
And
remember it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I thought that they had missed the deadline for getting the extension because they had not recorded. Normally that'd be the case, but the tolling carries it. So they get all these extra days. And so my suggestion is give them like a 1 year. Let's carry them through because they've got time of year constraints. They can come back and get another 1 year or whatever until they get the job done. Because that's a very rigorous activity over there to get the vernal pool replication achieved.
Okay.
Yeah, the pool has to be done before the house can go in, right?
That's my recollection. Bert.
So,
It has to be done, and doesn't it have to have 2 years of
yeah, so.
monitoring before the house
Bill,
can start?
I'm
I'm
not
gonna say-
being argument,
I'm not,
I'm not being argumentative
I'm
on
not
this
either.
one, but
I'm
it
not.
seems like it would take 3 years to.
Before they
possibly
could
get it
even
done, you know?
begin the house.
so, but I mean, the commission can have, maintain some control by, like a subdivision, to get that done, because I've already heard, well, we'll knock all the trees down, and we'll get in there, and I'm like, well, no, you're gonna build the vernal pool first. So, the specific language says to do the vernal pool and get it certified, so all that's built in. I visualize what's gonna happen is they're gonna knock the trees down and then not do the vernal pool, and then they're gonna sell it possibly. So that could happen, that's a scenario. But if this individual really wants to build his house there, then he's gotta get the vernal pool done first. I've talked to the building commissioner about it on their instant chat inside the building permit system, and I had to sit down with the Gary Russell, the director of the Board of Health. So there's no confusion. We're not gonna have a poor shirt situation like we had last time. So
What's the downside of doing it year by year? Just for my own education. Is there any downside to do it for a year and then they come back and get another extension? I mean,
No, I really, whatever, I mean, if we could ever have a do-over on this one, I would love to have it. you know?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So you learn by your experience,
Right.
and we
right.
learn.
Here on that one, Bert.
Well, yeah, I think I mean, I hear what you're saying, Bert, like, if you could go for 3 years because they,
Yeah, so
but
year-
in
if year by year gives us more control.
more
I'm okay with
control,
it.
I think
Yeah.
that is the way to go.
I think they would have to come back to the commission and show progress reports or something before they can go and get another year. And then you know.
Right.
You can not extend, but I think you want to justify, because they're probably gonna
No, it
take it to
seems
court.
reasonable.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I move that we vote to issue an extension of the order of conditions for 1 year.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Bill, just one question on this.
Sure.
Has Mr. Clark been in to talk to you to understand?
No, I have him talking to me in May, and then I emailed Greg and him. He's the one of the loose ends that I have to catch up with. I told Greg we were gonna get an extension, and then we get an extension. He says, I hope we'll get 3. And I said, well, the commission will do 1, 2, or 3. They also have the option to do none. That's not typical, is what I said in the email. I said, it's typically 1, 2, or 3. But you have the option to do none, because you may want to do that someday with this. So my last chat with Mr. Clark was, I think, where is he?
He just needs to fully understand what he's committed to.
Yeah,
I-
that's,
I talked to him on 5/11 and went over this, and he wanted to know what town council was gonna say, and then I sent that to both him and to, when I finally got it on July 2nd, I sent it over to Greg Morris, and I also, subsequent to that, sent an email to both Steve Clark and to Greg Morris. So there's a paper trail on that. I just haven't talked to Steve Clark. Yeah, so.
okay. Caveat emptor. SE 422731, Sheehan, 193 South River Street. We have mowing down gradient of 2 conservation posts. There is a new altered surface area closer to the wetlands than was approved. The areas are gravel, but they move closer to the wetlands. So Administrator Grafton suggests the commission require the filing of a request for amended order of conditions to resolve the multiple deviations that do not meet special condition A below, which is that all work shall be done in accordance with the final approved plans. Any comment? I move that we vote to deny the request for certificate of compliance for SE 422731 and require a request for amended orders of conditions to address multiple deviations. Do I have a second?
Second?
Susan,
All in favor?
Aye.
unanimous?
Okay, SE 422758 McLaughlin, 160 Sawyers Lane. 2,075 square feet of mitigation planting. Actually, they provided a 36% increase. Monitoring reports from ECR are completed. A letter from Brad Holmes was provided, recommending the issuance of a COC. Eric Flint confirmed that the existing conditions matched those depicted on the as-built. The mitigation planting is well vegetated and healthy. Therefore, I move that we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 422758. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, Rick.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, aye. Okay. SE 422832 Kessler, 56 Foster Avenue. This is largely as permitted with the exception of a white vinyl fence stretching to the right of the property, which was not on our original plan. I remember you and I went to this property and,
You
yes,
see that too?
yes.
It's like
You were the hearing officer.
Right.
disappointing, but not terrible, you know?
Yeah. So, we can consider this de minimis and vote to require a de minimis activity. We can vote to require an RDA for the fence, or we can vote to issue the COC for SE 422758.
You'd just be accepting the fence, you know?
How did we discover the fence?
We went to the site, it was there, and then we looked at the plan and compared it to the as-built, and it was obvious.
It's a nice fence.
They should have put it on the original plan, they probably would have got it, you know what I mean? To do things.
Well,
It's outside the 50?
Yeah, so, I mean, you could get de minimis on it, and you could accept it right here now.
So de minimis and put it on the as-built. and
Could
then-
be, yeah, Bert, you could do that, and then it's done, but I'm just fed up with seeing these things, you know?
I think my feeling would be to require a de minimis and get it on the plan. Does anybody else have strong
think
feelings
what
here?
we're
Or
saying, Madam Chair, was that you could accept it right here and now as part of the as-built and just call it a wrap, and not require any more activity. If you want a separate de minimis, we could put them through the paces on that, but Eric and I are gonna spend some time on that, and then we're gonna have the commissioners take a look at it. So I kinda like
Sure
what
what that would achieve.
I
We
agree.
would approve it anyway
So
outside the 50.
I
Okay.
kinda think for the sake
Right, it's
of
outside the 50.
probably put in
Yeah.
better use the conservation staff's time, we just go with Bert's plan here, which is close it out, but we know it's there. They just kind of have to keep an eye on these properties, they gotta stop it, you know? No
Okay.
taking on it, they do another one of these, we bring it down, bring down the hammer, you know?
Okay. Well, in that case, I move that we vote to issue a complete COC for SE 422758. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Right?
Aye. That project came out looking really nice, I have to say.
Yeah.
I think I
Too
saw
bad it's gotta come down, Commissioner, let's remove it.
That was the one with the fire pit?
This is the
Yeah.
one with the fire pit, yeah, with
Yeah.
many visits.
Is that a hot tub on the other side of the fence?
Yes.
I gotta go look at my photos here. I
Okay.
So you just need to close it out and it's a wrap.
I move that we close the July 20th, 2021 Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
So that is a record, I think. That's 8:09, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.